Yo, what's up, good people? If you're looking to build a budget PC or upgrade your existing PC that's at least 4 years old, this video is for you. At the time of recording, the CPU sweet spot is the Ryzen 5 3600. If that's a little expensive for your budget build, there's also the Ryzen 5 1600 AF. The 1600 AF is actually an underclock mirror of the Ryzen 5 2600. And once overclocked, it actually matches the 2600's performance in both productivity and gaming. Now you might be wondering, why the heck is everybody suggesting AMD these days? Simply because the AMD parts are more affordable and yield better performance in productivity, and in some instances match Intel's counterparts in gaming. As an example, the Ryzen 1600 AF outperforms Intel's i5 9000 series CPUs in productivity, as well as the latest, more expensive i5 10400. In gaming, the Ryzen 5 1600 AF matches Intel's i5 9400F as well as the i5 10400, only losing to the K SKUs, which are incredibly expensive compared to the Ryzen 5 part. And if you do decide to go with the Ryzen 5 1600 AF, for the motherboard you actually need the 400 series motherboard instead of the 500 series motherboards, simply because there's no additional benefit to picking a 500 part, because the CPU is simply not compatible with PCIe Gen 4. And you actually get to save a bit of money because Ryzen motherboards, especially the B450s, are now more affordable with the recent release of the B550s. And depending on pricing in your area, either motherboard you choose, B450 or X470, you should be happy with the performance. Ryzen loves RAM, and if you can overclock your RAM, it's even better. It's actually beneficial to the performance of your system if you can at least manage to squeeze some juice out of the RAM that you bought. Dual channel memory is actually a benefit. For those in South Africa, EVGA actually has an upgrade kit for just 4,999 Rand. You will get an X470 gaming motherboard by MSI, which is the X470 Gaming Plus Max. The Gaming Plus Max motherboard will support the Ryzen Gen 2 without requiring a BIOS flash, which is a benefit later when you upgrade to the Ryzen 3000 series CPUs. So in the kit you get the motherboard, the CPU, and a 16 gig stick of memory. This is a single stick to get you started. This is the best deal for those building their first PC. In 2020, it doesn't make sense to load Windows onto traditional spinning disk hard drive. They are slow and they aren't as reliable. M.2 SSDs have also come down in price recently, making them also an appealing option, since M.2 SSDs provide double the speed in most cases and sometimes even more. So if you can afford an M.2 SSD, then definitely buy that one. If you can't, then buy your regular SATA SSD. This 256GB by Team Group is not more affordable than this 256GB M.2 NVME SSD. A 512GB SSD is recommended, but if you can't afford that one, a 256GB SSD will do the job. However, it might limit you in terms of storage capacity. With any budget PC, a GPU is another important topic. There are many options to consider depending on your budget. The sweet spot for gaming and productivity workflows is Nvidia's GTX 1660 Super. The GTX 1660 Super benefits in productivity due to its high CUDA cost for the budget. However, if you cannot afford the GTX 1660 Super, you can always go with the RX 590 by AMD. South African shoppers can actually get a 1660 Super from Woodware for about 5,000 Rand. There's also one 1660 Super by Galax, which is slightly more affordable at 4,699, 300 Rands cheaper than the Palette variant. However, minus 1 year warranty, because you only get 2 years. I strongly recommend that you always buy parts with a higher warranty period in case anything goes wrong. You know, you have the manufacturer's warranty and you'll be covered, because with PCs you just never know. For a power supply, you can't go wrong with anything above 500 watts. For a budget PC, anything above 500 watts, 80 plus rated, should be enough. Power supply prices have gone up recently, but if you're in South Africa, the Antec VP650 power supply is a 650 watt power supply. That should cover you for future upgrades, particularly if you're going to upgrade your GPU or a more powerful CPU. And 650 watt power supplies are usually the sweet spot, because you don't want to be buying power supplies every time you have to upgrade. Available from EVTech for $999, so this should cover your sweet spot for future power hungry upgrades. With all components covered now, we actually need the housing, and that would be the PC case. The PC case you need will be based on the motherboard you are actually going for. If you are going for an ITX motherboard, then you'll be fine with a mini ITX case. That being said, you wouldn't buy a mini ITX case for a regular ATX motherboard, because the motherboard wouldn't fit in a mini ITX or micro ATX case. And if you don't already own a case, there are many case manufacturers out there, so you can go with either one that you prefer, and you can't really go wrong with an ATX PC case. So for shoppers in South Africa, EVGA has a wide range of cases. Antec actually provides some of the best low-end PC cases like the NX230 and the VSK10. Things to consider when picking up a case is front I/O. You need at least 2 front USB ports, preferably USB 3, but you should be fine with USB 2s, as well as audio out and mic inputs. And that's the list. If you enjoyed this video, give me one of these, and you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel to support the channel. Do remember to share the video with at least one of your friends. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a good one. Cheers.